try not to get blinded by the lights. So welcome to this session. So this is a session on obviously pioneering low carbon marketing campaigns. And I know this session is probably standing in your way of the fantastic lunch on offer here today. So we shouldn't be, ages. For those of you that have just joined the HE track or haven't come across SMRS before, we are a culture, brand and communications business, and we are purpose-driven and B Corp accredited, which is really relevant to the topic that we're going to be talking to you about today. Joe's already introduced us, and really we want to go through, first of all, on why track carbon in advertising. So people might be more familiar with the more tangible activities such as flights, like Taylor Swift's carbon footprint from travelling from Japan to the Super Bowl was well published. However, carbon is huge within digital advertising. Digital advertising is a huge part of the internet economy, and therefore, in order to do something about it, we need to know what the footprint is and to develop some more sustainable practices. There's also that growing consumer demand for companies to be much more sustainable, and a huge part of this audience is the younger audience. And so we're going to look at some insights now based on sort of like growing environmental consciousness. Now, we're just going to quickly look at an ONS survey that was conducted in 2002 on sustainability. And younger adults felt very worried about climate change compared to the older counterparts. There's a clear generational gap here, and Gen Z are having sort of stronger negative emotions when it comes to the topic of sustainability. They're all also more likely to be promoting more sustainable change and engagement compared to their older groups. We can also see from a survey conducted by the NUS that the research that they looked at, 60% students want to learn more about sustainability. And when you look at FE students, they are also looking to drive that change. They want courses to actively promote sustainability, incorporating sustainability into the development. And when we look at the kind of students' time beyond education, students want to work for companies that really care about this stuff, that focus on the sustainable element. And 75% would also, accept a lower starting salary to work for a company that has good social and environmental credentials. We're going to now look at a perspective from a university. What does that mean? We can see that there's that growing consumer demand. So I'm going to hand over to Charlotte to give a little bit of a perspective on what they've been doing at UWE Bristol.
Right, okay, so hang on, let me just get the clickers to work. Okay, so hi everybody. Thanks, Smita. So yeah, at the University of the West of England, UWE Bristol, as it says on the slide, we do have a really ambitious commitment to sustainability. So we're really putting that at the heart of everything we do. And so whether that relates to our capital developments or incorporating the UN Sustainable Development Goals into our curriculum, or offering staff and students there's opportunities to get hands-on with green initiatives, it's something that we really are very focused on. So I'm just going to show you a few nice pictures and some examples of some of the projects we're working on at the moment. So we're building one of the world's largest student accommodation schemes built to passive house standards, and it's actually the first in the UK. And so for maybe many of you don't watch as much grand designs as me, and you might not be so familiar with passive house, but it's an international energy performance standard for construction. Which means that you're constructing very energy efficient buildings. There's very little additional heating or cooling required. So, they're really excellent in terms of their sustainability credentials. So we'll have 900 beds available for students joining us from September. We also generate quite a lot of our own electricity from solar arrays on our campus, and we have plans to increase that capacity. But for now, all of our bought-in electricity or energy is from renewable sources and, where possible, in the UK. So last year, we launched a carbon literacy module, and so this is open for staff and for students, and it was actually co-created with students. We wanted to make sure that it was relevant, it was meaningful, and there's been really amazing uptake actually of this module, and we're looking to integrate it more fully into the curriculum going forward. And I guess that goes back to what Smita was saying about having an appetite for this kind of information with our audiences. So yeah, we were really pleased with how that's gone for us. We also have a sustainability hub on campus. So this is to support their kind of circular economy on campus. And anyone can come and they can swap clothes or home goods or other things. And we also run monthly repair cafes on campus. So again, that's open to the public, not just our students and staff. People can either get things fixed or they can learn new skills to fix them themselves. And again, that's preventing things from going into landfill unnecessarily. And then, of course, we've got our grounds team who are doing amazing work on campus to support wildlife and biodiversity. And they're also creating lovely green spaces for everybody to enjoy. And I have to say now that we are a hedgehog-friendly campus, which is obviously very important. So due to all this work, we are getting recognised. We were Green Ground's Sustainable University of the Year in 2023, and we're number 11 on the People and Planet University League table. And that's a kind of environmental and ethical performance league table. So yeah, all this stuff is really positive. It's great for our students, it's great for our staff and for the wider environment, but it's also really necessary work because we have an ambition to be carbon neutral as an organisation by 2030. So really all areas of the university need to get on board, need to understand their carbon footprints and what they can do to kind of minimise those. And that's why I'm really excited to be working with Smita and the team at SMRS on the Green Dashboard, because it makes perfect sense for us to understand more about the environmental impacts of our advertising campaigns, and then we can help contribute to the university's overall aims and objectives on sustainability. And the better our carbon emissions data reporting, and the more accurately we can track what we're doing, the more information we have to inform our decision making. And that's why I hand back to Smita to give you a bit of a look at the dashboard.
Thanks, Charlotte. So tracking advertising, we're on a journey at SMRS. As mentioned earlier, we are B Corp accredited, and we have a commitment to sustainability as a business. We've been really working hard to onboard our media partners and track their carbon footprint. Everyone's at different stages of this journey, but we've been opening up these kind of conversations, working together to track the carbon impact of activities. We have this collaborative approach in order to sort of achieve full transparency. And for us, for the universities that we work with, the organisations that we work with, it is an ongoing process, but we've taken several steps in terms of reviewing media campaigns, the carbon that they generate, and ways in which we can reduce and potentially offset some of them. So let's just take a look. Here is an example of a dashboard that we created for UWE. And what you're able to see here is the carbon generated across the various channels, and obviously we can see where in the cycle that appears, the kind of peaks and troughs. We can specifically look at this by channel so looking at this kind of like channel mix, how we would look to reduce if there are any particular months where, it's more than other months. So we can look at this holistically at the moment. We've looked at digital campaigns. Obviously, campaigns do involve offline channels, and that will be our next step, to look at what that looks like for potentially out of home and other traditional media. In terms of our approach, it's important to make sure that we're, as a first step to measure and monitor, we need a baseline. And that's what we've achieved with the work that we've done with UWE Bristol. because we obviously need to reduce, we need to know what that looks like in order to make those changes as we move forward. We've also found it really important to make sure that we are continuous driving that improvement, but collaborating with those media partners where they might be at the beginning of that journey, maybe they have already found solutions to support a more sustainable way of delivering activity. And finally, as mentioned previously, this is a journey. We've been learning and improving as we go along. There is a lot more to do, but we're really excited that we've been able to take this kind of first step to look at that transparency, look at what that might look like as we move forward. Thank you. Vicky coming over.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Samita and Charlotte. That was super interesting. So we're going to hand over to the audience in a minute and ask if you've got any questions for either Charlotte or Samita, but I'm just going to kick off with a few to begin with. So the first one, Charlotte, is for you. Now, tracking the carbon footprint of campaigns is actually really pretty cutting edge. I don't know any other clients or agencies that are doing that. So what are some of the challenges that you face, because it's a completely new territory?
That one, yes. Yeah, so it is really new, and I think that is the challenge. So it's about, obviously it's great to have the tools to be able to make positive changes, but it's about bringing everybody on board internally and, communicating that we've got this information, what are we going to do with it, what does that mean for us, what does that mean for our campaigns. So yeah, it's really new, it's really exciting. People internally are really excited as well. But I think the challenge for us is now to make it meaningful and actually do something with that information, which we fully intend to do. But that'll take a little bit of time. So by the time we come around to plan our next UG campaign, I think we'll have several months of data under our belts, and we'll be able to look at that and make some really good decisions. And then, as Smita said, not everything's on there, so it's a snapshot at the moment. But I think it's a really, really good, really positive start.
Yeah, absolutely. As you both said, it's starting somewhere, and it's a journey, and it's going to progress and get bigger. But it's good to hear that you've got people on board at the institution, which is fantastic. And then, Samita, a question for you. What's the coolest thing about using the dashboards for tracking the carbon footprint of university marketing campaigns?
I think the coolest thing is being exposed to new metrics. As an industry, we're very used to using metrics such as click-through rates and engagement, but this is a whole new set of metrics to kind of get our head around. So it's not just based on the performance, but actually it's based on the impact, which is really exciting to view it in this way. So along with performance metrics, budget, etc., actually what's that kind of environmental impact of the campaigns? I think that's pretty cool.
Thank you. Has anybody in the audience got any questions? Yes, gentleman at the back there. I think the mic is coming to you.
Hello, I'm Alex from Havas. I was just wondering, we launched our carbon calculator last year, and one of the interesting debates we've been having is around how you balance the debate between performance versus impact. So what happens if, I'd be really interested from you, Charlotte, if you're really well-performing media, but it's also causing you high emissions, where would you go with that?
I think that's a really good question, actually, and it's something that we're kind of anticipating maybe having to work with as we go forward. I don't think it's about stopping doing what we're doing completely, but it's about maybe moving budget slightly away or investing more in other channels. But as I said, it's really new. I anticipate there being some quite difficult decisions maybe down the line, but I think it'll be interesting to see, especially given our targets as an organisation, what those pressures are and how we respond to them. But I guess without having the information in the first place, you can't have those conversations. So you come back to me in about a year or so.
I guess to add to that as well, onboardings of like media partners, we would look to ensure that that's reducing both sides as well. So whilst they might be high, hopefully, you know, with these conversations that we're opening up, that media partners are also looking at a sustainable way in which, you know, the activities are run. So I think, you know, with both sort of forces, that will ensure that the carbon is reduced.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you. This sounds amazing, like really interesting. So, sorry if I missed that from the presentation, but are you literally piloting this with UWE, or are you applying this to other clients as well?
UWE are the first client that we've onboarded, but yeah, we you know, that's the hope that, you know, more universities also look to track their carbon.
And how long have you been doing it for? How much data do you have at the moment? Several months or?
No, we have the whole cycle from last year,
Oh,
so
the whole
we were able,
cycle.
yeah, we were able to look at that.
Are you seeing any trends that some platforms are consistently a little bit more, you know, have a higher impact on the environment than others?
So overall, looking at the whole year, so it's aligned to spend probably, so those areas that, you know, the spend's higher. So if you saw from one of the slides, in August it's particularly high. There's lots of activity that happens in August due to clearing. So naturally, you know, it's slightly higher in those months on particular channels that, you know, obviously drive interest, you know, clicks that we may have. So yes, year on year, we're able to now see the differences as well. So last year, we've got a baseline from what it looked like last year, but the key thing for us now is to look at year on year, what those differences are. But when we're planning the next cycle, as Charlotte mentioned, we've got those metrics to hand to kind of go, actually, in those months, it's particularly high, maybe we'll dial something down. Maybe we will have an approach where it's not always on to support both key times of the cycle, whether it's driving to open days, but also that kind of environmental impact that it's generating.
That sounds great, thank you. Really interested to hear anything else you do on this, because it's really genuinely really interesting.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Oh, yeah, lady down the front. Thank you.
Hello, so interesting to hear about this. When it comes to advertising, it's usually very debatable kind of what sustainability means in advertising. So carbon footprint is obviously one angle. We spoke in the beginning of today about ethical advertising and kind of debusting stereotypes as well. So where would you rank carbon footprint versus kind of all the other angles of sustainability in advertising in terms of importance, and why?
Sorry, would you mind just repeating the end of your question?
Yeah, so if you compare carbon footprint as one dimension of sustainability of advertising with others like not using stereotypes or debusting stereotypes or ethical messages, where would you rank the importance of carbon footprint in kind of all the challenges that advertisers are having at the moment?
Yeah, John, did you want to jump in?
It just reminded me of another initiative that we're doing with Charlotte and UWE, which is around adhering to the conscious advertising network. And that takes into account those other areas that you mentioned around making sure that we're not stereotyping in any way, we're making sure that we're targeting the right people. So yeah, you know, the carbon footprint analysis goes into that conscious advertising network analysis that we're doing, and that is only one of 7 elements. And the other areas are around thinking around equality and areas such as that. So we're given equal weighting, really, I would say.
I'd also, sorry, I was just going to add, I don't think it's one or the other. I think you can look at your carbon footprint and look at the sustainability of your campaigns, while also being, being inclusive and all the other things, all those other things. And as John said, there's the Conscious Advertising Network that kind of covers all of these areas. So I don't think they're exclusive. I think that you can do them at the same time.
Thank you. Interesting question.
Charlotte, how are you communicating this initiative internally to the different stakeholder groups within the university?
Another good question. There are certain people within the organisation who are more kind of linked into that kind of carbon agenda. So, meeting with them, there's a sustainability kind of board group where I'm talking to them about what we're doing, so everyone's very interested, and I'll be showing them the dashboard at some point soon. It's finding the people in the organisation who are linked into those initiatives, and then kind of inviting ourselves to meetings essentially to tell them all about it.
Okay, if there's no more questions, then can we just put our hands together and say a massive thanks to Charlotte and Samita for a really interesting session.
Just want to say a massive thank you to all our speakers today. And just before you go for your very exciting lunch, I just want to say thank you to you all as well for spending some time with us today. And I just wanted to say, nothing we do doesn't start without a conversation with, everybody in this room. So we'd love to invite you to our social at 5:30 at the Big Chill. So if you're free and you fancy continuing the conversation with the speakers that you've seen today, just come and see me to get your coveted IDP and SMRS exclusive sticker from the event. It's going to be the merchandise of the conference. So if you do fancy joining us, please come and see me and I can give you a sticker for later. And thank you once again for spending time with us. Thank you.